Hello, everyone. It is Shayna Rattler. Welcome back to another episode of a God Shift podcast. I'm so happy that you are here today, and I would appreciate it if you would do me a favor. So, wherever it is that you are listening to this podcast, I would appreciate it if you would take a screenshot. So, whether it's on your laptop or your tablet or your phone, wherever you are consuming this content, please take a screenshot of it and then post it on Instagram or wherever you are online, and give us your biggest aha. And if you would just tag us here at a God Shift when you do that, it just helps us get these episodes into the hands of more people who need to recognize that there is hope on the other side of disruption. So thank you so much for doing that. So I am going to read my guest's bio, and then we are going to get in her story. We are going to get into her story. So Kimberly Ann Bell is a native of Salisbury, Maryland. She holds 2 degrees, one in human growth and development and the other in theology. She is a passionate speaker, minister, and author of The Epitome of Kimmy, Accept and Embrace It All. Through her work, she uses her personal life struggles to inspire others to never give up hope, and she provides insight into the realities that lay beneath the surface of our society. She is also an advocate for women's empowerment and mental health awareness. She covers topics like physical, mental, emotional, and sexual abuse, as well as childhood abandonment, PTSD, and healing from trauma. Welcome to the show, Kimberly Bell.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You're very
welcome.
Pleasure. Absolutely. I'm glad to have you today. So, I read people's bios and they're always full of eloquent words, they're well written, but tell us in 15 seconds who you are and how you play in the world.
Well, I'm a very courageous, resilient, caring, most loving person, beautifully and created and wonderfully made by our master, my father, our father, God. And I'm a mother of 4 adult, beautiful children and 1 minor that gives me a run for my money. And she just turned 6. So this has been a complete, absolutely wonderful journey in my 40s with my minor. They are my heartbeats, and I have 6 beautiful grandchildren that I think I'm one of the best grandmoms in the world. So that is pretty much about me. I love what I do. I'm a case manager. I've been in case management for over 15 years. I love helping people navigate resources, get the best quality in life wherever they want to be at, either in their community or either in a nursing home. So I just, once they get me, I said, you got one of the best.
Awesome. I love it.
That's going to take care of you.
Awesome. I love it. So my definition of a God shift, Kimberly, is anytime a disruption in your life collides with God's purpose, but the end result is that it ultimately moves you into a greater destiny. So can you tell us about a time that God has used some form of setback or challenge or disruption in your life?
Well, I had pretty much a few disruptions in my life. I know the first one was when I was taken to my paternal aunt home with her and her husband and dropped off, and never, neither one of my biological mother or my biological father came back and got me and reunited me with the family. So that disruption, because I stayed with them up until I was about 5, going on 6 years old. And I had an older sister that was 2 years older than me that was separated also with me. She stayed with them, and I was the one that was, dropped off. So that was a disruption. And to me, it was a broken foundation that I had to see if rely on God with that shift.
And so how do you do that? You're 5 years old. So what do you know about relying on God at the age of 5?
I didn't, but I did have my adoptive father, and I always had this spirituality, this known sense, because up until 5, my biological mother and father were Pentecostal. So it wasn't a stranger about church. I knew I knew to do my little shout at 5. So, and then when I was raised with my adopted family, they were AME Zion. They were in a more of a structured denomination, but it was Christ centered. So my adopted dad was the one that I used to hear. And he would, you remember how they had the big cabinet that had the record player inside of it.
Oh yeah.
And then you lay a cloth on it and you had your family Bible and then some little, little decorations there. Well, that's what we had. And I remember, even though I was silent, because I went through a lot of the pain of rejection and abandonment, and the misdiagnosis of which was PTSD, but they diagnosed it with mild retardation. I just completely shut down, but I heard. My senses were still there, that God had allowed me to be still and hear my father praying. Yeah. And he would sing spirituals and he would sing hymns like, "What a friend we have in Jesus." And I would be listening and I'm like saying, who in the world, and then he would say to me, "Kimmy, I love you." And that's where the Kimmy came from, the epitome of Kimmy, because that's what he called me. He said, "But there is someone that loves you more than I do."
Wow.
And he said, and I'm listening, I'm observing, and I'm like, who? And he said, "God, Jesus Christ. He loves you and he created you and he loves you more than Daddy Bill."
So let me
and
ask
you can talk to him. Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. So you're a very young girl.
Mm-hmm.
You get dropped off at your aunt's house, never to be picked up again at a very young age. Why did God have to use that? And what do you think that the reasoning behind him using that? What were you supposed to learn? It sounds like a strange question to ask someone, what were you supposed to learn when you were 5 years old? But I think that hindsight is 2020. And when we look back, we usually are able to pinpoint why something was allowed to happen in our lives.
I believe that we all have a purpose-driven life, and for my purpose, and that I had to experience the abandonment and the rejection to be an example, or to also give my own personal testimony and the truth of what God could do for your life, that I could have used that shift to be bitter, to be angry, to be filled with hate, to be filled with unforgiveness. And I chose opposite, because I always kept in mind that even though I went through what I went through, there was someone that had went through worse than I did. Yeah. I never was in a foster home. I could have been, there's been people that went into a foster home and experienced horrible, events. Even though I've experienced some events, even though I felt that I was secure after I felt that I was safe and secure in my adopted home, I just believe we all have a plan in life for us to be a witness and God to be glorified out of our life on what we can become.
Right.
It's like I remember hearing a gospel singer singing it, and I said, I get it. This is for my good, in a sense, because I wouldn't be the person that I am now had I not went through all of the events that I went through in my journey, but for his glory. And that is the ultimate.
Yeah.
Because we are all here for his glory.
Yeah.
Not anything really else.
Yeah. One of the things that I say often is that if we're actually going to get on the other side of our God shift, or we're actually going to use the disruption to develop us and not destroy us, that it's
Yes.
very important that we elevate God's position in our lives. Why do you
Yes.
think that that's so important?
Because we're giving back all of that is due to him, because he was the one that created us. So it's with that free will that he have created us as all human beings. We have to get to a point, and seriously, like, this is like perfect timing, because I'm a living witness that as long as we are living and breathing and here on this earthly world, it doesn't stop of us decreasing us,
Yeah.
mind, spirit, and soul, to elevate and to increase him.
Yes.
And it's easier said than done, because we are created with free will, and we have the spirit, and we have the enemy, we have the attacks, we have the trials, we have the tribulations, we have all of that the scripture says that he has spoken his word that we will have. But he said that I came here to overcome. You do me, you can overcome it all. And I know I'm a living witness that even with the memoir, and even with my journey from the beginning to pretty much where I'm at now, I've still experienced that I had to put another place of my life that I wasn't willing to just submit it all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Give it all.
Absolutely. So we're gonna pause and take a quick break, but when we come back, we're actually going to share some tips with the audience that if they find themselves in a similar situation, of how they can actually get on the other side of their disruption as well as you did. This episode is brought to you by the free guide, When God Says Shift. Inside, you'll discover the 4 shifts required to follow God's plan to move you out of disruption and into a greater destiny, expectancy, and possibility. Head to GodSaysShift.com to access it now. So, Kimberly, we were talking about, how you were able to actually live out what it says in Romans, that all things work together for the good of those that love the Lord and are called according to their purpose. Because you said in the beginning that you really felt like the adversity that you experienced actually led to your purpose-driven life. So I want to ask you a couple of questions. What do you feel are some of the common barriers that people have that actually prevent them from elevating to a purpose-driven life when they're experiencing disruption?
I would say some of the common barriers would be self-gratification, impulsiveness, the anxiousness of not waiting for God. Also, I would think that some of the common barriers would also be that I had to learn is that we have to be mindful and protect our spirit man, just like we protect our outer shell.
Yeah.
And that means our connection, our relationship, our who we surround ourselves, who we allow into our inner circle.
Yeah.
To not help, but ultimately bring havoc, chaos, everything that is not going to fill us with the right spirit or help us to grow in the right way to elevate Christ. Just like I in layman's terms, I remember saying to someone in my relationship, I have, as sweet as I am, as kind as I am, as loving as I am, I can be totally the opposite. I don't need no help from you.
Yeah.
I don't need you to bring out the bad in me.
Yeah.
you know, so yeah.
She's right here. Like even though I'm a minister and I'm all these other things, and you all see who I've become, who I
Mhm.
used to be, she's not that far removed. I'm not one of
Right,
the people that was converted 50, 60 years ago. Like she's only right there. She's really
right,
close to me. So it won't be much, it won't take a whole lot to bring her out. Please don't bring
right.
her.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And then look at this. I don't want to be that
Yeah.
that 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 Ann. I call it Ann because that's the ego. That's my middle name, Ann, Anne. Ann is there,
Yeah, she's
and
there.
Ann is capable. But
Yes.
I don't like that Ann. I don't. You are not going to be in my life causing Ann to come out.
Yeah. I
It's
love
no
that.
need, you know.
So Kimberly, what advice would you give someone? What would be your best tip for helping someone overcome disruption?
I would. I would say to invest in yourself and personally.
Mhm.
If you have never did it before, it's worth it to invest in yourself and personally get the relationship between you and God and submit everything,
That's,
everything. Yeah.
it's interesting because I get a lot of the same answers when I ask that question. And typically, when someone says, I have never had anyone answer this question saying invest in yourself, but usually when people are looking to grow in any capacity, whether it's personally or professionally, an
Mhm.
investment is required. It's one of the things that I'm actually going to talk about in another interview that I have to do tonight. And,
Mhm.
but I find it interesting that you say invest in yourself to actually improve your relationship with God. How does that show up? Like, how do I invest in myself to improve my relationship with Him?
Um, well, for me, I have taken the time to connect more with him. It used to be because I'm a mother of five, and then in relationships, the investment would be more of first thing in the morning. How can I make my children's life or problems or challenges better? Um, my relationship, how can I benefit them to help them to obtain or good? And me would be somewhere,
Yeah.
somewhere in the back. But I learned to, why not me first?
Yeah.
And then when I say first, why not me first with who created me to
Mhm.
give me the
Manufacturing.
wisdom? Yes, the wisdom and the guidance to move to those other parts of my life, which is my
Absolutely.
relationship, my children, my investment, my work, my yeah.
Yeah.
So I I just and I just learned to be able to um feel that even with the book that I'm worth it. My self-worth, I am worth it. I am worth investing in me. I am worth loving me just like God loved me, that he created me and see me as God sees me.
Yeah, that's so important. I ask people all the time, like, I know what you tell yourself about you. I know what
Yes,
others tell you about you. But what do you know that God has said about you? Because that's really where what trumps it, trumps it all. Not what you think about yourself, not what others
yes,
think about you, but what do you know that God says about you?
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So as we begin to wrap up, how can our listeners find you?
I'm on, well, I have a website. It's www.kimberlyann with the E bell.com. And on that website, you'll see where I've spoken couple of women's expo and some other topics. And my book is listed there, my
Okay.
memoir, where it is on Amazon.com and Goodreads. On Amazon is also in the ebook form. And I'm on Facebook at Contact Kimberly Bell. So usually that's the only social platform right now that I am on.
Okay.
And if the website is just, I think it's beautiful. You'll get to read, more about my bio, get to see my family, and be able to contact me if you want a book. I'm very much open if you know someone or you know that it will help you, because this is why I knew that the release of my entire journey and to be courageous enough to put my whole life in there. From every one of my children, from the first time that I had my first child at 15, all the way up until my last one that's going on 60. I just know that it's for someone else. It's
Yeah.
my truth is for someone healing is dependent on it. Someone is in need to hear and to know that there is someone that did not give in, did not give up, did not rely on statistics, because statistics had said that I would never read or write effectively. Statistics said on paper that I would be very one of the known, predominantly one that would abuse one of my children and give away one of my children. So
Say all the time that there's a difference between the facts and the truth. And the
yes,
facts can tell you one thing. The facts could
yes,
say I should be in prison. The
right,
facts should say I should have not had a college degree. But the truth
right,
is that the Lord had a plan for my life that even my mistakes could not stop. The truth is
right.
whatever it is. So thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. And for
Thank
those of you who
you.
are listening, I will make sure that the links to all the things that she just mentioned are in the show notes. So you're not having to go back and fervently try to rewind and write that down. I will make sure that that is in the show notes for you. So again, Kimberly, thank you so much for being here. Again, I'm Shayna Rattler, and I appreciate you listening to this episode of a God Shift podcast. And I pray that you will not only share this episode, but that you will listen and share to the other ones as well. Thank you very much for listening. Have a good day. Bye-bye.